Hi, I'm Ben Ferguson, and welcome to your Amac Weekly News. First up, the referendum against Joe Biden. Boy, did it hit hard this week in elections across the country. We'll have more on these major victories in just a moment. Up next, the media meltdown has begun as Americans are waking up and they're protecting their basic freedoms. And finally, Amac Social Security Advisor Gerry Hafer is here to discuss Amac Foundation and some important veteran outreach efforts that we're involved in. But first, a quick reminder. If you want to help get the message out, please make sure you hit that share button right now so your family and your friends can see this on social media. Your Amac Weekly News starts right now. It was like a nuclear bomb went off politically in America this week. That's how NBC News put it. As a red wave hit this week and liberals nationwide are freaking out. Yeah, you woke us up. Thank you for that. Americans reacted to the Biden policies of higher taxes, more government control and mandates, and abolishing police by giving conservatives more power now to actually stop it. Now, the best part is the left is still talking about Trump's, quote, refusal to concede the election in 2020, even though this past week he said, hey, I'm not the president, Joe Biden is. That's what you would say if you'd already conceded an election. Yet none of them are talking about the now former Virginia governor, Terry McAuliffe, and his loss and the fact that he refused to concede the election until he absolutely had to Wednesday morning. Maybe his loss had something to do with comments that he made like this.
And I promise you, we've got to diversify our teacher base here in Virginia. 50% of the students in Virginia schools, K-12, 50% are students of color, and yet 80% of the teachers are white. We all know what we have to do in a school to make everybody feel comfortable in school. So let's diversify. So here's what I'm going to do. We'll be the first state in America. If you'll teach for 5 years here in Virginia in a high-demand area, that it be geographic or coursework, we will pay room, board, and tuition at any college, any university, any HBCU here in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
That's right, folks. Apparently, Virginia needed his help to rescue children from all the white teachers. The education of future generations is no longer based on the ability of teachers to teach. It's now all about the color of their skin. However, according to the mainstream media, the concern from parents across the country about the education of their children, they now claim, stems from this.
And the exit polls showed that which was interesting, that the coronavirus or that the virus was a very
low
not importance to many of the voters there. It was education, right, which is code for white parents don't like the idea of teaching about race. And I mean, unfortunately, race is just the most palpable tool in the toolkit. It used to be of the Democratic Party back in the day when there were Dixiecrats, and now of the Republican Party. It just is powerful.
This wasn't about those pocketbook issues. This was about how white kids feel talking about what black kids go through.
So if you want to know what the playbook is for Democrats going into the midterms, apparently the only thing that will bring Democrats together, they believe, every single time is claiming racism. That's all they've got left, folks. Not only, by the way, did Democrat politicians hit rock bottom this week, but Americans responded to Democratic policies with a resounding no. For example, voters in Minneapolis, Minnesota, faced an actual ballot question on replacing the Minneapolis Police Department with a new Department of Public Safety. Minneapolis voters flat out rejected this ridiculous, radical leftist proposal, which should be a wake-up call for liberals pushing this idea nationwide of defunding the police. However, it doesn't look like they'll be stopping this anytime soon. It all goes back to exactly what Arkansas Representative Tom Cotton tweeted out on election night. He wrote, if you shut down schools, force kids to wear masks, indoctrinate them to hate America, call their parents domestic terrorists, and lecture them about pronouns, don't be surprised when the voters reject your party. The mainstream media is also comparing Virginia governor-elect Glenn Youngkin's election to a mix of COVID and Donald Trump.
The stakes are high. When this election is over in Virginia, we will know, have we seen the emergence of the Delta variant of Trumpism? the Delta variant of Trumpism. In other words, Youngkin, same disease, but spreads a lot faster and can get a lot more places. The suburbs, if they fall to him,
that's implying that that Youngkin is more dangerous than the president, former president.
No, more easy to spread.
Okay.
Because more easy to spread.
Now, let me be clear. You should not get upset that Democrats are still not understanding what happened to them on election night. Now, the best part about all of this is the fact that they're totally in denial. Even Vice President Harris is having to eat her own words from just a week ago.
Because you see, what happens in Virginia will in large part determine what happens in 2022, 2024, and on.
Now, again, don't be surprised if Vice President Harris does not carefully choose her words from now on better than she did a week ago. That's good for America because Americans are waking up. Americans are fighting back. Americans are realizing that their freedoms are being taken by the Democrats, and they showed up and they fought back. Look, we're a part of this fight, and at Amac, we are going to continue to give you the tools to make sure that your voice is heard, whether it be in a place like New Jersey, where there's more than 1 million more Democrats registered to vote than Republicans. And look at the results in New Jersey and just how close it was. We're going to keep giving you the information you need and make sure that your voice is heard. As a commentator that works in media, I got to tell you, it's really fun when I get to see some of my former colleagues completely melt down when they don't get their way on election night. And we are standing up as a country against the controlling actions of the left and the media, and they can't handle it. That's why they do things just like this.
You look at New York City's numbers. I thought when I was looking at the numbers that there was an error there because the numbers were so low compared to other states. The numbers were so low. And Mika, that's exactly what the mayor's saying. You want evidence that vaccines work? Look no further than New York City's numbers on infections, new infections, and deaths. So much lower than most states.
And Mayor de Blasio, when you say vaccine mandates work, and not only are people getting the vaccine, but it's these numbers in terms of COVID that are showing that the vaccine mandates work. I mean, I wish that you could, put that on all the billboards on Times Square, this science, where these numbers are drastically decreasing.
Now, what you just watched was not an actual news clip. It was news propaganda of the tyrants of de Blasio and others. Now, remember when networks actually work to be unbiased and actually just give you real news? That is gone. It's not their job to butter up de Blasio or any politician for that matter, yet that's exactly what they are doing. It's also not their job to push their own beliefs on Americans, yet that's exactly what the media is doing. Even more than that, it's also not the job of the media to attack a union president for being vaccinated and not forcing it on his other members. Perfect example, New York Fire Department Union President Jim McCarthy, he is my hero of the week, responded to a CNN anchor and her questions, not really questions, her propaganda, after firefighters called in sick in response to the vaccine mandate put in place in New York City. Now, I want you to watch closely what he had to say to her when she attacked him for being vaccinated, but not forcing that on all other union members.
Well, I don't agree with the mayor and his description of what's going on. During this time, there's been many multiple fires.
Can I just be clear on that? So you think there's not a sick out?
I'm saying that there are people on medical leave, and our members have to go see a doctor to be put on medical leave. So a doctor has put them on medical leave. They don't pick that themselves. Anybody that calls with an illness has to go to the medical office and see a doctor. So a doctor puts each of our members on medical leave.
But there's a sudden spike in people being on medical leave.
Yeah, there is. Well, it's several factors involved. During this time of year, there is increase in fires because of the drop in the temperature and heating. So there's been multiple alarms around the city. So firefighting is a very dangerous business, and our guys give 110% when they're fighting fires. Also, there's been an increase in vaccinations with the membership, and the city acknowledges that You get COVID symptoms when you get the vaccine, and they let the members take 2 or 3 days of medical leave when they get the vaccine. And as they're touting that our vaccine rates have increased, also those medical leave days increase as well as a result.
Now, this CNN anchor, who's nothing more than a mouthpiece for the socialist left, continued to push back on the idea that these absences were uncalled for. I want you to hear what she had to say next in this interview.
Isn't just about the person who uses it, it's about the people around them who could be affected by them. And firefighters are forward-facing people who are dealing with a vulnerable population.
Yes, we are forward-facing, and we have been involved in this pandemic from the very beginning. From March of 2020, we were the first ones there at the worst height of the pandemic in the world in New York City. New York City firefighters and fire officers went to the firehouses.
Yes, but address what I'm asking you here about the problem of being pro-vaccine and anti-mandate.
Well, we were exposed to the virus very early on, and many of our members got sick, and they have a high antibody rate, much like the vaccine.
It's not the same, and I'm sure you're aware, Jim, that just today the CDC is pointing to research that shows there is more consistent immunity when it comes to the vaccine than infection. That's not something you can hang your hat on.
Well, it's more consistent, but the OSHA has also come up with a standard that they can use vaccine and testing, which we've had previously to this mandate. And our infection rate from that testing, we had over 6,000 tests. Less than 0.5% of our membership tested positive. That's lower than the public's rate. So the vaccine and testing program that we had previously has been working.
Now, to be clear, 18 fire companies were deemed, quote, out of service as the city enforced their vaccine mandates. Meanwhile, in the most out-of-touch move of the week, Mayor de Blasio actually tried to blame the firefighters for all of this, turning them into public enemy number one.
The folks who are out sick and really aren't sick, the folks who are faking it, are doing an immense disservice to the people of the city and to their fellow members of service. And we will make sure there are consequences for that.
So let me just straighten out all this liberal logic for you. Apparently, we have real consequences if you go into New York unvaccinated. And there are consequences if you stay home. What do they want people to actually do? This is just the beginning of the fight, as Americans are fighting back and taking back their freedoms that they should have never lost. Even the mainstream media is having to admit that Joe Biden has a lot to do with the major losses for Democrats in this election week as well.
But Joe Biden's in charge of the hellscape now.
Yes,
and Joe Biden will be in charge of the hellscape, and I'm using your language, not mine. He'll be in charge of the hellscape in 1 year. And the fact of the matter is that Joe Biden is not a popular president as we sit here this morning. In Virginia, a state he won by 10 points, he's at 45% approval rating right now.
Yeah, way underwater, and that obviously didn't help. And the midterms were already at a disadvantage just for historical purposes. And so now with the Youngkin victory and sort of a wind at their back, I think Republicans are looking in really good shape for next year.
Now, the takeaway for me of what the firemen have done in New York, what the pilots have done in so many different airlines over the last couple weeks is this. They are showing that if we just organize, lawyer up, and fight back, that we can actually turn what is happening to our freedoms around. We can take back our freedoms, and they will lose in the process, those that try to dictate to us what we can and cannot do. We just have to keep doing it and focus on the midterms coming up. Each week, we try to make sure that many of you that are AMAC members know exactly what we are doing for you and what we're doing on your behalf. And joining me now to talk about a really important initiative, especially for seniors, is our AMAC Social Security Advisor, Gerry Hafer. Gerry, I appreciate you coming on AMAC Weekly News. And you guys are continuing to fight and bring forward more opportunities and also initiatives to really assist our AMAC members with issues that they are having. One of the things the foundation is focusing on right now is something that's become a very big deal, unfortunately, in this country, and that is with fraud and fraud against seniors. Talk a little bit about what AMAC is doing to make sure we protect our members.
Okay, excellent. We got a lot of commentary from members about AMAC, wanting AMAC to do more in terms of alerting seniors to the vulnerability of senior fraud, elder fraud as a broad category. And you've probably seen many of the statistics that elderly people are frequent targets of fraudsters. And so we embarked last year on a mission to just communicate with our members about things that they can do to prevent them being a target for scammers. We published probably more than a dozen articles on our foundation website. Back in March, we did an Elder Fraud Week where we conducted articles every day about elder fraud. We partnered with Travelers Insurance to communicate, again, tips and techniques for preventing elder fraud. It's a big item for our members, really.
It's become huge. We're talking about a multi-billion-dollar industry from the fraudsters out there that are focusing and employing people to just try to go after seniors in this country and try to take away their hard-earned money in their retirement. And this is such an important initiative. If people right now want to go back and look at some of those articles and they want to see more of what you guys are doing with the foundation, where do they get that info?
All you need to do is go to the amacfoundation.org website. And there's up in the menu bar, there's a button called News, and you can just click on News, and you can just scroll back through.
I want to pivot to something else that's also so important that you guys are doing with the foundation, and that is assisting with veterans outreach with new programs with AMAC. Tell us and give us a little update about what exactly we are doing for so many of our amazing men and women that have served this country that are now members of AMAC as veterans.
Yeah, AMAC has taken a pretty aggressive position on supporting the veterans community. We established the AMAC 2021 Veterans Initiative last year, and the foundation is leading that. We are working with VSOs, veteran service organizations, to kind of promote the way that they interact with the veteran community. And we have a VSO initiative project underway to bring the major VSOs to the table to talk and exchange information about the programs that they operate. Just the information exchange, trying to make the public aware of everything that's available to veterans. We have started to work with a couple of small veterans service organizations, Lone Survivor Foundation as an example, and we are working with them to promote the activities that they do. Another one we're working with is called One More Day. It's a suicide prevention VSO, and we are helping them promote their projects. They are starting a podcast series where veterans that are walking back from the brink of suicide are willing to share their stories. And we're going to help them promote that, again, through our website.
It's such important work, and you look at how many veterans we have and the 2+ million members of AMAC. This is part of the reason why you guys are really focusing on this, because we know how many veterans there are that need assistance and help, and they deserve to get this assistance. And I applaud you guys for exactly what you're doing for these veterans. We have the website up at the bottom of the page right now, so you can get more information as well if you need some of these services. Gerry, I appreciate you so much with your leadership on this, what you're doing. And again, all the information that he just talked about, the web address is up at the bottom of the screen right now. So make sure you get this and use these resources because, as you said, they're always up online.
One of the more important things about the website, incidentally, Ben, is our clearinghouse of programs and services. It's on that For Veterans page that you can get to from our website. We have well over 1,000 programs documented up there for people that can access those on the website. It's contact information, phone numbers, email addresses. It's an information resource for veterans and the veteran community.
Gerry, thanks so much. Appreciate you coming on this week and all the great work you're doing.
My pleasure. Thank you, Ben.
Quick reminder, if you haven't shared this program with your family and friends, or you haven't become a member of AMAC yet, make sure that you become a member. If you haven't renewed your membership, now is a time for you to renew that membership and keep in the fight. We now represent more than 2 million conservatives on Capitol Hill every day and in each and every state around the country. We have had big victories over the past week in places like Virginia, where AMAC members were directly involved in the election in Virginia. So make sure you stay involved, renew your membership, or join AMAC right now. Plus, you get the incredible member benefits that Gerry was just talking about. I'm Ben Ferguson, and I'll see you back next week for our next episode.